Once upon a time, Mac discovered the power of fairy tale creatures. Let's get into this deck profile. What is up, guys? This is Mac from Team Card Fighters United, and I'm here with a Force of Will deck profile. This deck was finished about a week ago. Okay. But, I decided to hold off on doing the deck profile because I wasn't sure that this was how I wanted it built. But I played a few games, and it ended up being better than I expected. So we're going to go ahead and profile it now that I've tested it a little bit. So, first of all, this is a Force of Will deck profile, hence the fairy tale thing, because I'm playing fairy tales. If you look, this is Crimson Girl in the Sky here. I think it's unfocused, I can't really tell. It looks decent. So, she's my ruler. Her skill is pay 2 green and a colorless to deactivate, or if you play Refarth the Castle in Heaven, which is it's an addition field, then you can flip her for free. She becomes Little Red, the True Fairy Tale. She cannot be targeted by fire or darkness spells or abilities. And then she gives everything that buffs your attack and defense and doubles it, and then takes everything that would lower your attack and defense and negates it. So she becomes a really key powerhouse to make this deck function the way it's supposed to. So, really nice card. This is my ruler. Okay, on to the mana stones. I run 4 Deepwood, green and blue, 4 Gusting Skies, light and green, and then 2 just generic greens. A lot of people run True Stones here, but I run Gretel, and I don't want to have that chance of failing my Gretel shot, so I just run full colors. On to creatures. I run 4 Tinkerbell the Spirit. Tinkerbell is amazing. Her skill is give her +2/+2 for every fairy tale you control. That includes herself. And with her, that doubles. So when you J activate, this becomes a really big powerhouse. It's one of your heaviest hitters. You absolutely want to get this as soon as you can and protect it with whatever you can. But when Tink doesn't work, you can always call in the Little Prince. His skill is that he gets +4/+4 for every different total cost on the field, excluding himself. So with Tink and say a 3 cost, he becomes 1,000, 1,000, or 2,000, 2,000. So it becomes really tanky. Plus he gives you an extra 1,000 life if you're to 1,000 life by that end of that turn. So nice card. Then, as stated earlier, I run 3 Gretel. Gretel's skill is when it enters the field, you can check the top card of your Mana Stone deck. If you do, if it's a wind, you just put it in your mana. So that's why I run all green and no True Stones, because I want to be able to get that extra pump and just boost my mana pool quicker, because this deck dies pretty fast, and you want to be able to have a certain amount of mana before you start swinging. So that's why I run Gretel. Next, I run 3 Glinda the Fairy. Glinda is an amazing, amazing card. It's a 2 green. Its skill is that when it enters the field, you can choose one of your resonators and it cannot be blocked. And then it has an activate skill in which you banish it, and when you do, you can cancel a spell unless your opponent pays 2 more colorless to keep it going. So that's a really good countermeasure against spells like stuff to try to kill your Tinks or your Little Princes. It just helps you keep your board. It's a pretty solid card. This one is more of a tech than anything, mainly because the card that I want is really expensive. I bet if you're an avid Force of Will player at all, you know what card I'm talking about. This is Mad Hatter. It replaces Cheshire Cat, and I wish I had Cheshire Cat, but expensive cards are expensive, so we run Mad Hatter instead, just because Mad Hatter is a good alternative. It is a 1-cost blue, and it has an Awakening of Another blue, where when it enters the field, you draw a card. So, again, not nearly as good as Cheshire, but since Cheshire Cat is really expensive, Mad Hatter is what I play instead. For now, we go into the humans. I run 2 Aesop the Prince's Tutor. I'm probably going to take this out next week when the Moonlit Savior comes out and the Flower Prince comes out, because the Flower Prince basically has the same skill, and he is a fairy tale. So its skill is fairy tale creatures you control can't be targeted by spells or abilities. So he's really easy to be thundered, and he's also human, so he doesn't pump up Tink, which is why I'm going to switch him out for Flower Prince, just because it's a really easy, it's easy to get Tink to high numbers, and plus it makes it so that Tink is harder to get rid of. So yeah, I run 2 of that. I might end up running 3 of it. Next, I run 2 Hansel. This is technically a fairy tale and a human, so is Gretel. Its skill is it can't be attacked as long as I have Gretel on the field, and then whenever it deals damage to my opponent, I draw a card. So it's a good card. It's a 3-cost for Little Prince, and it's overall just a good card, especially when comboed with some of the other cards I have in the deck. And then the last card I run is 3 Alice, the Guardian of Dimensions. This is a human, and it's a very good human. It's a blue, white, and colorless cost. It's a flying, and it has an activate skill of pay 1 blue, and you can prevent something from being targeted by spells and abilities. And then its second skill is you can pay 1 light and then rest it to remove it and another target resonator from the game. So overall, just good defensive options. Gives you a good pump for Little Prince, and it gives you more options to keep your stuff from getting taken out. So yeah, that's my creature lineup, or resonators. Now on to spells. My spell lineup is kind of all over the place, but with good reason. I run 2 Evolution of Limits. It's a 1 green spell. Target resonator gains +6/+6 until the end of turn. With Little Red, that becomes +12/+12. So it's a really easy pump spell. For 1 green, you pump something up to almost half of someone's life. So it gets really devastating, and it really annoys people when I play that card right when they think that they're safe. Next, I run 2 Voice of the False God, simply because of all the humans that I run in this deck along with the fairy tales. Its skill is, it's a 1 blue and 1 colorless spell, and you banish one of your own resonators, and you draw 2 cards. Then if that resonator was a human, you draw 3 instead. And that is really, really good, because this deck uses its hand up real fast. So with this card, you're able to boost your hand back up and give yourself more options. So it's a great card. Then I run 2 Zeeks. I would like to run 3, but for now I'm sticking with 2 just because I was on a budget. Zeke's skill, I'm not going to go through all of its skills, but essentially, normally you would have to pick 1, but because I'm running Crimson Girl and Little Red True Fairy Tale, I can use up to all 4 of them, which is really, really nice because it gives me the option to do a bunch of things just by paying 2. So it's really, really good. Finally, on to my first 4 of spell. God, took long enough. I run 4 Absolute Cake Zone. It's essentially a 2-cost spell canceller, except if I control Hansel or Gretel on the field when I play it, I draw a card. So It's a really good spell to be able to cancel things out and give yourself more. It keeps you from getting hit too hard. Next, I run 2 Realm of Evolution. I'm planning on switching this out for Flower Kingdom, because Flower Kingdom essentially does the same thing, where all your fairy tales gain +2/+2, except its second skill is better. I can't recall what its second skill is right off the top of my head, but I know that I preferred it more than being able to pay 1 green and banish this to search for any fairy tale. But essentially, it's a 4/4 buff with crimson, with little red, so that's why I run it. Next, I run 2 Realm of Pure Spirits. You'd be surprised how good this card can be in this deck. Its skill is any resonator that is recovered, which means it's not rested, can't be targeted. So in that breath, if I can find him real quick, in that breath, Aesop becomes untargetable because I don't ever attack with Aesop, and as a result, all of my other fairy tales are also untargetable. I'm going to keep this in even when I get the Flower Prince, because Flower Prince is still going to be easily targetable because he's a 4/4, so he's even easier to hit with Thunder and stuff like that. But with this spell, I can make it so that once I play him, you can't hit him with any spells or anything, and makes it so that he becomes untargetable while he makes everything else untargetable. And the last card that I play in this deck is essential to the deck simply because of who my ruler is. I play 4 Refarth, the Castle in Heaven. This card is basically, it's an addition field. All resonators I control get +1/+1, and you can banish it and give any resonator +4/+4, but its main use is to deactivate her for free. So it's a very nice card. It combos really well with the deck, plus the pumps help immensely with the deck as well. So overall, this deck is very well balanced. It's very adaptable. I like what I can do with it. Like, I always get options, and it's not always just one clear-cut way of winning. So this has been my Force of Will deck profile. Go ahead and leave a comment, like and subscribe for more videos. And as always, meta is disgusting.